look at that. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And we're gonna have just a quick, short, hopefully short video on what you can kind of throw together if you do your own case designs or want to plan out some sort of a kit that's packable that can be taken out in the field somewhere. So a little bit of background on this kit. It's going to go out to a search and rescue team. They do a bit of everything. They do swift water, mountain rescue, snow rescue. It's fairly all-encompassing, usually out in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, no internet. So it's a very austere environment, and this sort of a kit is perfect for that. So we'll go over real quickly, I guess, what we've got in this case. We've got 10 Meshtastic radios, the orange little things. These are Meshtastic radios. These are my own design. And I should also say, I'm going to put the files for everything on here. Everything that you see will be uploaded. I don't know if I'll have it done by the time I post this video or if it'll be after. I'll have everything in the description. If it's not there when you see this, then just check back a day or two later. I should have it all uploaded. But it'll all be available for free for people to replicate these things if they want. But anyway, so 10 Meshtastic radios. We've got 10 phones, Android phones running ATAK. We've got a 24 port, well, you can't really see the label, 24 port gigantic USB power supply brick thing. There is a gl.inet, however you pronounce it, travel router. That's the barrel, which is the smaller and slightly crappier version of the Slate AX. I did need the slightly smaller version because the Slate wouldn't fit in here. The real main difference is that the Slate has quite a bit more output power. This is, I forget, like a quarter of a watt or an eighth of a watt or something like that, as opposed to 1 watt. A bunch of antennas over here, a little pocket for the dummy loads. Put dummy loads on all the devices to try to keep the SMA port clean. And then on the end, we have a spot for an extension cord to plug in. So everything, there we go. Everything can get power. The Meshtastic radios are actually sitting in charging docks. And on the bottom, they have target pads where when you drop it in here, it goes on the charger. If it's plugged in, then it will get power from the gigantic power brick thingy and charge the radios up. And then these are for out in the field. It's a 2-pin, what was it, a LEMO? On focus, there we go, 2-pin LEMO. It's one of those push-pull connectors, so there's no twisting or any weird nonsense, but they do lock in place nicely. And then just USB. These ones, I did not put a GPS antenna. They've got the GPS chip, but in Meshtastic I've got the thing set to GPS disabled. It's the rack board, and so the rack board will actually cut power to the GPS if you've got it disabled. So the battery life on these is something like 4 days or 5 days. It's quite impressive. The longest operational period for search and rescue we expect to encounter would be a 3-day period, so those will run the whole time. The phones will not. These ones are pretty impressive, though. They're quite a bit older. These are the Moto G Power, which I don't believe they make anymore, but they will run ATAK for about 24 hours straight, which is pretty cool. The newer ones, these are the Moto G Play, I think it was. They don't have quite the battery life, but they are definitely a faster, more powerful processor. I don't really know which is the best to go with, so yeah. But they're fairly inexpensive. You can get them if you don't care about cell service at all. If you just need them for Wi-Fi or off-grid use, then you can get them as like a pre-carrier locked whatever version for like 70 bucks each, which is awesome. I think actually even less when they go on sale for Prime Day. So I'll talk about the little Meshtastic radios real quick. So they, like I said, it's my own design, and I'll have these posted. It's a somewhat waterproof design. The weak point is going to be this LEMO connector, as well as any like little print defects. But it's got a it could have if there's a spot to install it, the GPS antenna. I didn't add the GPS antenna to these because they're expected to be paired with the phones, which have GPS. So, but you could have a GPS antenna in here if you want. An on-off switch, which is annoyingly not a standard feature for the rack boards. That's what's in here, by the way. It's the rack board, the Wiz block, however you're supposed to pronounce it. And then actually, put it back. Here's what the case really looks like. So on the bottom, we've got this piece with the target pads, a tiny little custom PCB. There's nothing special to it. It's one side looks like that, the other side looks like that. You just drop the target pads on there with a tiny dollop of solder paste, and then you stick it on a hot plate or in a reflow oven or whatever you've got. Hot plate's quick and easy if you just run down to Walmart if you don't have one. But you could get the target pads on that way, and then you just solder a tiny little wire through the through hole there, and then the actual wires they go to the LiPo charging board from there up into the thing. The main body looks like this. So this is one of the earlier prototypes. There's provisions for a gasket, silicone gasket. You just go to the hardware store and get some silicone. Make sure it's not acetic or acetyl, however, I forget. You don't want it to be like the acid cure version, because that will corrode your electronics. So it's got to be the non-staining, I think they refer to it. Let me go grab the actual jar real quick, or the tube. So here's an example of what you do not want. Do not get this one. So it's silicone one. If you check here, you can see, there it is. Acetic acid is released during curing and has a vinegar-like odor. This will attack your electronics and destroy them, so don't use that. The one that I did use was this stuff, Window and Door Projects, Supreme Silicone. This one does not have an acetic acid release as it cures. It's some different chemical formulation, but it will not destroy things, and that's what you want. There it is. Methanol is released during application and cure. So that is not nearly as bad as acetic acid. Right, so back to this thing. There are the provisions for the seal there on the top as well. It's kind of shiny. I'm not sure if that's going to show up very well, but there's a seal there as well, and matching grooves. Why is it having such a hard time focusing? That is a ridge that I inadvertently set the soldering iron up against, and this bottom piece has the ridge for that. Everything's designed to print without supports, because I hate supports. There are internally 3 slots, so this is a little sled that's just a battery support, so the battery will drop in there. There is on this side, where I'm pointing there, that's where the rack board goes. This is one of the adapter pieces, and there's a second one. They screw onto the rack board, and then they allow the rack to slot in like that. And then there is a middle one that looks almost identical to this piece, but it's got provisions for the Bluetooth antenna to slot in, and then on the other side for the LiPo battery charger. And then we've got the top. So antenna, charging port for USB charging in the field. This is where the power button goes and GPS antenna. The ones that come with the rack boards, or the module for the rack board, I should say. It just slides in and is held in place by little ridges around there. I forget, this one does require supports to print. My apologies, I forgot about that. So, and then the charger looks like this. It is the exact same footprint as this piece. So it just kind of sits on there like that. There are 2 tiny little holes in there, and those holes line up with, probably guessed it, the target pads. So when you drop the board or the radio in, it sits on there. This is the board that goes underneath, and it is the simplest board in the world. It actually should have been a single-sided, so I used a Dremel to grind that side off. The only side is this side. The only side that should have anything. The bottom, like that. This board goes in like that. You insert pogo pins. The pogo pins protrude up through there. They get soldered in place. Take a USB cable, cut the end of it off, solder the power there, and then there's little cutouts that you can run the cable whichever way you need to go. And that's the charger. And oh, I should, the reason that even exists, by the way, I don't think I mentioned it, is so the search and rescue team often is out in the middle of nowhere with no internet. And if you've got a photo of like a footprint or a piece of evidence or something that needs to be shared amongst the team members, you can kind of do it with the Meshtastic devices, but they can only share very small files, and it takes quite a long time to do that. So instead, at least at the command post, or if someone brings one of those out in the field or whatever, then you can use the Wi-Fi to transfer photos and images that way. So for footprints, we usually want to have like a pretty high resolution image of it, so don't necessarily want to have it all compressed down so it can just be sent by Meshtastic. I think everybody knows how Meshtastic integrates with ATAK, but if not, I'll fire it up and just run an example thing real quick so you can see it actually working. While these phones are powering on, I also figure I should do this. It's a comparison in size between the well-loved Tony G case for the Meshtastic radios and the one that I made. So they are about the same height. The Tony G case is definitely slimmer, and they're about the same width. So there's not much of a size penalty to going with the one that I made. Definitely adds some nice features to have, in my opinion. Here they are started up. Still with the dummy load. The Meshtastic radios are actually still sensitive enough that they will detect everything and work fine. So it's actually great for testing short ranges. So if we just throw down a random marker, we can hit the send and then get that a little closer. Broadcast. And it appears. Amazing. Meshtastic works. And then you can also, it's one thing that a lot of people I think don't actually know, you can do voice through Meshtastic. It's a very low bitrate, so it sounds pretty terrible, but it does work. So, hello, testing, test 1 2 3. So it's like really quiet. I don't know if that can be heard at all, but it is coming through. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And Hayt the guy that made the Meshtastic plugin. That's not his real name, but it's his Discord name. Hayt added an ability to tie it into a Bluetooth push-to-talk button as well, so you can connect like headsets and Bluetooth push-to-talks and whatever. Pretty cool. Anyway, that is it, I think, unless I think of something else. Thanks for watching. Just kidding. There's 2 more things I forgot. So thing number 1, there are inside here, there are lights that you could see kind of sort of through the case when it's dark, when it's nighttime. But other than that, for being able to tell if this is on or off, you can kind of tell the difference between the button height. If the button is sticking up, out, then it's on, and if it's very, very, very slightly depressed downwards, then it's off. But really the best way to check is just by using the what do you call it, the app thing. Where is it? There it is. So connected to online would be this one and the other one. So if you turn it off, then it will suddenly say that it's not connected anymore, and now we know that it's off. So that's, yeah, the downside to it. Thing number 2, big thanks to Hayt, not his real name, for making the Meshtastic plugin. I bugged him for probably a year or so, saying, hey, it's broken. And instead of, blocking me or anything, he actually fixed all of the stuff. So that's pretty cool. You're the man, Hayt, but that's still a bug. See ya. Bye.